Good afternoon. This is a meeting of the Monument Relocation Committee, and I'll go ahead and hand it over to Judge Mattingly.
Thank you, Jordan. Well, first of all, I want to welcome all of you to this extremely important task, and I want to thank you for agreeing to serve our community through the committee. Let me introduce Jordan Rowe to you before I introduce the rest of the folks. Jordan is our Director of Communications, just came on board about a month ago. He is the tech guy. He is the one, I think, that taught Wesley Acton how to use this computer and get on Zoom, isn't he, Wesley?
That's right. I hope I can make all these connections. If not, if I get lost, y'all just pray for me.
Wesley, if you can do it, and Claude Porter can do it, and I can do it, I am certain that you can. If you can't, then I'm sure that Tim Kline or Aloma will be happy to give you a hand, right, Tim?
Tim's younger. He probably knows a lot more than I do.
He does know how to do it. So, and he's got a house full of kids that know these things as well, right?
And I've ordered them to stay downstairs for the next day.
Okay. Well, you know, we appointed 5 members to this committee, and I want to introduce them. The first appointment is Aloma, and I've asked Aloma to chair the committee. Wesley Acton was one of our appointments. And Damron was an appointment by Commissioner Caslin. Tim Kline was the appointment for Mike Koger, and Kenny Barr was the appointment for George Watson. And once again, I want to say thank you for all of you guys for what you're doing. Today, I'm here for the first and only time to give you a charge, and that charge is made pretty clear. In Section 4 of the Resolution 2020, it simply states that the committee shall provide a recommended location to Daviess County Fiscal Court for the relocation of the monument. And we're asking that that be done in 6 months. Now that says recommendation. I don't know that that precludes you from bringing us a couple of places that you think might be appropriate if you can't make up your mind. But in the end, the court will be the one that decides where that statue might go. You have the 6 months, clock is ticking. The court and the community are looking forward to you using your best efforts to find a location that's appropriate. You'll set your own rules. After today, I doubt that you'll see my pretty face on a Zoom meeting or be involved. It's not my intent, nor do I believe it's the intent of any court member to try to influence you in the job that you have been tasked to do. We expect you that you'll take input from the community. That can be accomplished in many ways. One of the things that we thought best would be that you would establish an email that you would want to communicate back and forth with community members. We have already set up public comments at daviessky.org. I know it works. May not have you guys on there yet. Jordan, I don't know if you were able to get the committee members put on this to redirect the emails, but I know I got a couple recommendations today. And I suggested that those folks send those recommendations to that email. So hopefully you will be getting those. The court will provide you technical support and administrative support, and your go-to guy will be Jordan Rowe. I caution you that this is an emotional issue if you haven't figured that one out yet. Both sides have very strong views regarding the monument, and I understand both sides. And I think, as Commissioner Watson stated in his comments during the vote, that there's a middle ground that really didn't know. And I just interviewed with a guy, believe it or not, that didn't know. He had heard about the statue, didn't know where it was. Been an Owensboro resident all his life. So I apologize ahead of time. All of you know people can be a little mean sometimes, particularly when they are upset. you are, as I said, you guys are civilians, and the elected officials are military in effect, but you're going to get some of that collateral damage, and I apologize for that. And really, that's where I think that you've shown great courage in accepting this task. Since you're court appointed, everything that you do regarding this monument relocation is subject to open records. So I want you to remember that. And with that being said, Claude, get off your phone and talk to these folks about what they should do. I think you've all had some information sent you by Jenny. If you haven't, we can get that to you. But I'm going to let Claude talk to you a little bit, then I'm going to open it up to Commissioner Wathen and Commissioner Cover to see if they have any comments, and I will just give you a closing goodbye. Claude?
You want me to go ahead before the commissioners in?
Yes, I want you to let the folks know about open records.
Okay. As the judge mentioned, since you all are a committee appointed by a governmental agency, anything and everything that you do as far as working on this project will be subject to open records. So you should, one, create any record about what you do, and that needs to be maintained. And I think Jordan can help you make sure you do that. Second thing I would suggest, if we haven't already done that, is to refer to set up a separate email account. So any emails you do, you don't go through your personal account, because once you put those in your personal account, all of your personal emails would be subject to at least perusal to decide whether they are part of the open record. So please have anyone use the governmental email that either we've assigned or will be assigned to you. I would also suggest that any of your phone calls you use, they be directed and run through either the fiscal court's phone number or a separate number if we set that up. I would caution you about using your own phone or own records to do that. And I think with that, then anything and everything that you do and write down, somebody can request. The other thing is you need to know is you cannot meet separately on the meetings. Any meetings that you have are subject to the open meetings requirement, meaning we have to give at least 24 hours notice to the media and to the public of the meeting and its agenda. And you'll notice that Jordan has done that. And we're on Facebook Live, so the meeting itself is open. There may be times when you could have a closed session. I'm not sure I can see any in this particular meeting, in this particular organization or group. But if you believe that there's one where you'd like to have that, if you will ask Jordan to ask me or ask me, we'll take a look at the statute and see whether there is a possibility of doing that. I would caution you that it's unlikely that we would be able to have a closed meeting. And with that, I think, as the judge said, I will be around and I will be willing and able to serve and come to any meeting which you request me to come. Jordan, I'd ask that you at least send me notices of all the meetings so I know when they are.
Do that.
But I will not attend unless Ms. Dew or one of you ask me to attend.
Claude, can I ask a question about that?
Yes.
Does that preclude then phone calls between members of the committee? And if so, can you give us a little more detail on what we're allowed and what we're not allowed to do?
No, it does not preclude phone calls between committee members. It does preclude calling each one, for instance, the chairman or any one person calling each member serially and trying to get a consensus or a vote on what you're going to do. Otherwise, no, you may confer with any one or other members, and any number of you that's less than a quorum. There are 5 of you. So anytime there's just 2 of you meeting or talking, that would not be subject to the open meetings or the open records.
Thank you.
And Tim, I might add, and Claude, you can correct me if I'm wrong, as you have done on myriad occasions. That does preclude 2 of you from going to lunch, or even necessarily 3 of you. What you can't do if you get together is discuss this issue or
Right.
this task. I mean, 3 of our commissioners, or me and 2 commissioners, often would go to lunch and we talk about the kids, we talk about the weather and everything else, but we don't talk about fiscal court issues. So it really sometimes, until you've lived it for a little bit, and you as an attorney kind of understand it probably better than everybody else, but until you've lived it for a little bit, you kind of walk around on eggs, pins and needles, thinking somebody's looking over my shoulder. So, okay, Claude, any other questions by the committee on that?
No.
Okay, Commissioner Watson.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for serving. We really do appreciate it. Just a couple comments. One is, please remember, just consider all options. Anything that you can imagine is an option. For example, somebody asked me this other day, does the statute have to stay with the base? No, I don't think it really does. So that's just an example, but consider all options. And don't let people intimidate you. As the judge executive said, it's kind of an emotional issue, and people will try to intimidate you, and they'll try very hard. So just don't let that happen to yourself. You're a good group of people. We obviously have a lot of confidence in you, or we wouldn't ask you to serve. We're looking forward to hearing. I can't wait to see and hear what your recommendation is. I'm here anytime you need me. If all you have to do is let me know. Otherwise, I'm like the rest of them. I'm not going to be at your meetings either. I may be watching you on the computer, but I don't plan to attend the meetings unless you ask for me. So good luck. And like I say, we can't wait to hear your recommendation. Thank you.
Commissioner, thank you. And that's you are exactly right. They're both sides will try to intimidate you into making a decision that maybe you don't like. But what we're looking for is the decision that's in the best interest of the entire community. Commissioner Colger.
Yes, I'd like to thank each of you willing to serve. We're excited with our committee. I'm like Commissioner Watson. I'm here if you need me, and I'll probably be watching some of the meetings. I won't be attending, and I'm just excited for you all to get started. And thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. One of the things that I might suggest would be that any questions that you have of the judge executive, run them through Jordan. A lot of times he can run them by me and we can come up with some kind of an answer. And if I need Claude's input, then I can check with Claude. Other than that, I'm happy to talk to you at any time, but I'm not going to do your job for you. With that, I leave you to that task and just have one thing to say. God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gordon, do you want to turn this over to our chairperson?
Correct. Yes. Aloma, would you, I guess, like to take the meeting from here?
Yes, I just want to welcome all the members of the committee, all of you who've agreed. I'm not sure what bad things we did in our life that we ended up on this, because this is going to be an emotional, I think, task. There's been a lot of emotion and divisiveness in the community. But I would just start out with ground rules. Our ground rules are going to be civility, cooperation, community, and consensus. And if it takes us until March the 3rd, I don't think it'll take us that long, but maybe it will. As long as we remember those words in our dealings, not only with each other, but with the people that will be talking to us and the comments that we will be getting. Sometimes that's hard, but I think all of you all are up to the task. We've been called upon to listen to community comments, to discuss and debate and decide on the best location for moving the statute. What is definite, and we need to make this clear if anybody questions it, because I've already had one phone call about this. The court voted that the statute would be moved. That's a done deal. Our job is to decide where is the best location. And what I think we will be discussing in our meetings is what we've heard from people with whom we've talked, the emails that have come in, and we must be very careful that we go with facts, we get good data, good reasoning, and seeking consensus. When this is over, I want all 5 of us to be in agreement, in consensus. It may not turn out to be everybody's #1 decision, but I want us to be able to be reasonable and come to a consensus. After studying the time in which it was erected, and as you all know, I'm a historian and a Southern historian at that, it took me a long time to reach the point, because not like the guy who didn't even know the statue was there, I always liked going down and looking at it from an historical point of view. And finally, I began to look at it from other people's eyes. And I realized, particularly as I thought about the time in which it was built, it wasn't till the 1900s, it was after the war, it was during a very, very divisive and really violent time in the South, particularly. And so I think what we've been tasked to do is to try to look at this through everybody's eyes, not just ours, but how does this look to Wesley? Because he's the only person of color who's on this committee. But Wesley, I think probably all of you know, but was very involved in desegregating the lunch counters and the movies here in Owensboro. He was an activist at a time when a lot of things were going on. And I think we're being called to be activists during a new era in a way. And it's not going to be personal, because we've got to listen to the community. The nice thing about democracy is it's supposed to listen to everybody's voice, or at least give people a chance to speak. And that's what we're going to be doing. It's kind of time for us to all work for that more perfect union that we hear about so much in history classes. I understand that only a very serious reason, and you all can chip in, those of you who are still on here, George and Mr. Koger, it would have to be a very serious reason for the fiscal court to overrule our recommendation. That is a possibility, but I think it's very unlikely. But what we're going to be doing in these next few weeks or months is coming up with a cohesive plan, a recommendation that we can take to the court, and then they can decide what to do with. I think everybody has set up their alternate email. It probably took me a little longer to figure out how to do it than some of you, but Jordan helped me, and I think I've got it down pat. So what we are going to be seeking is a good sampling of community opinion. And all of you in your daily life, there will be people who will talk to you, but ask them to send their comments to the website that then will be forwarded to us. Now it's your turn. Introduce yourself and you say what you have to say. Anne, since you're the first one in line, you get to go first.
Well, I'm Ann Damron. I don't know what to say. I'm interested in Owensboro. Several people have asked me why I did this. And I've lived in Owensboro most of my life. And I'm very interested in Owensboro, and I'm very interested in history, and I'm very interested in, the truth. So I would say that's why I'm here.
Sounds good to me. Wesley?
Okay, I'm Wesley, and I have lived in the area most of my life. I'm originally from Ohio County, and I moved to Daviess County when I was ready to enter school. And I'm just hoping that what little part that I can play on this committee will be useful and helpful to everyone who is interested in helping us to follow this. And I want to thank the judge for appointing me. I've worked on other committees with him. I have been deeply concerned about certain things that go on in Owensboro and Daviess County. And I expressed my concern when I led the group with Mrs. Holloway to clean and restore Greenwood Cemetery. And I will tell you, I have comments from somebody almost every week saying, every time I pass that cemetery, I think of you. And
That's true.
I do.
thank you. And I'll do the best I can. And I hope I can understand this technology from one meeting to another.
So far, so good. Tim? You're muted, Tim.
Yeah, you keep referring to me and I'm the first guy to talk while muted. So I'm not sure you want to put your eggs in my basket. Good afternoon to everybody. It's nice to meet all of you on the committee. And I really appreciate the opportunity to serve. And I thank Commissioner Koger for appointing me to this important committee. I think it's really important what we're doing because we've seen what's gone on in other places. I think it's a sign of maturity of Owensboro, the people of Owensboro, to deal with this in a civil way. And so I'm thankful to be a part of that. I want to give you a little bit of background about myself because it will inform the way that I plan on handling myself. I'm a husband and father of 4 kids, as the judge has already noted. I'm a Christian. I'm a veteran who has served with brave men and women of all different colors. And I'm also an attorney who believes that the law is important. And those things are going to inform how I handle myself during these proceedings, and I want to get that out there up front. There's a few other things I want to mention, one of which has already been mentioned by Aloma, and I do think it's important. The court's already made the decision to move the monument. So I am looking forward to getting feedback from the community, but I'll just suggest that if the feedback is don't move the monument, that's not going to be terribly helpful to this committee because that's not something we have any control over. The court has already decided to do that. So I would ask that any feedback we get really be addressed to, okay, what's the best place to put this thing? As I mentioned, I'm a father of 4 kids. I want the community to be better for them than it is for me. And I say that as a transplant. I grew up in the Northeast, moved here in high school, left to go into the service, and moved my family back 10 years ago from New York City because I loved Owensboro and wanted to be here. And I wanted to be a place that's great for my kids too. Now my wife's from here, so I did have that connection. As a Christian, that means I believe that everybody's entitled to respect, regardless of their background, color, religion, or whatever, and that all of us are made in God's image and have dignity inherent in us. And I think we're entitled to respect. And I think together what that means is that we ought to be civil. We ought to have an understanding that we're a community. We have to live with one another after this. We don't want to say or do things that will make it more difficult for us to live with one another after this. And so that means we need to the extent we have to disagree, we need to not be disagreeable about it. I'll just throw this out there. My starting point on this whole thing is really getting to the bottom of who owns it. I think if that question is answered by a preponderance of the evidence, and that's the standard I'll use, the question of where it goes might become irrelevant. If we determine that some entity owns it, then like, any other personal property, we would not have a say about where it goes. I think we would give it back to that entity. Now, we're not to that point yet, but that's kind of where I'm starting from. I think it's a very important legal point to keep in mind. I do look forward to working with this group. Anybody who has comments about this, I'm glad to hear them. I'd be glad to give out my email address, except for this. I guess maybe that's going to go directly to the group email box and then funnel to all of us. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for your time, and I look forward to working with y'all.
Thank you, Tim. And Kenny, last but not least, I want to hear from you. You're on mute also.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, but I'm having a little trouble with my connection. So, but anyway, my name's Kenny Barr. I live out in the county. Have lived out in Daviess County all my life. I don't know how I ended up on this committee. Just conversations. led me to make the move to express interest. And I hope I work in Owensboro. I work all over Owensboro, and I'm out and about, and I love the city of Owensboro. And I hate to think about the divisiveness getting worse, like it has in other areas of the country. And I mainly just like to see some unity and like to see this statute becoming the issues around it being resolved and moving forward. So I'm looking forward to working with everybody. And I don't know if you remember me, Mr. Acton. You've done work out in my backyard, actually, on a cemetery out here.
And where was it? Where was it?
Out towards Whitesville.
Oh, yes, yes. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry that when I left, didn't nobody picked it up and kept it clean. And I hope somebody else can pick up the pieces. I did that for several years.
I do my best to try to keep your work up, but you did a great job, and I appreciate you. And I'm glad I do know a face on this committee. So, but anyway, I'll get back to you, Ms. Dew.
Thank you so much. I'm really pleased to get to meet all of you all. I think you're all very brave people. I think we are all brave people. But this is very important. This is what being community means. And I think we've all lived in Owensboro long enough. I'm a native also. I had left, but came back. And I think we all care about our city, and we want the future to be more inclusive and more progressive than the past has been. And I think we can make that happen. And all the problems are not going to be solved by moving the statute. We all know that. But it's a symbolic step that will put us in the right direction. It shows that we're aware that there are things that need correcting. It makes us aware that we are not all white and have white privilege. And these are things that are hard to struggle with. But I think this group is up to it. Really, we're not going to talk for a long time today, but we've got to decide when we want to meet, how often we want to meet, and when we want the next meeting, because the meetings do have to be announced since everything is open to the public. As the attorney made very clear, we can't have little cabals and work on this in little groups. We are representing the public. We are listening to the public. And there will probably be some ideas that we won't like. But ultimately, the decision comes down to us. And I liked what Tim said about, and I think all of our religions teach us that equality is a goal, and it's not one that we have achieved yet. But I believe that Owensboro is up to making it more so. How often do you all think you want to meet? And when? We don't have to meet at this time of the day. We can meet whenever you want. This was so the judge and the attorney could be on. Now, Kenny, I know you work and have a limitation. So I ask you, what is a better time for you for us to meet?
This time was just a little bit tight for me.
Yeah.
Traffic kind of got me. But actually 15 minutes more, 4:15, 4:30 in the evening works great. I hate to cut into anybody's afternoons too much, but
so 4:30 would be the earliest. What about the rest of you? I mean, we can meet in the evening. It doesn't have to be in the afternoon. So you all just tell me.
4:30 would be a better time for me.
Would it? Okay. Wesley, what about you?
Anytime you say.
Isn't it what? Well, you're not retired. I was going to say it's wonderful being retired, but you're not actually.
Yeah,
tell me what works for you, because I know you have office hours.
I'm thinking I have retired from all the changes that have taken place in this technology. But
yes, I don't think I could go back to teaching with all the changes.
Let's see, any day or any morning, whatever. Will you be, Wednesday is not my favorite day, but we can work on any day.
Yeah, it can be, let me get my calendar. It can be whenever works for you all. Consensus on that. Tim?
I'm
'Cause I
flexible.
know that you're still working.
Yeah, for now, 4:30 works fine.
That's
My
fine.
office is in Evansville. I live here in Owensboro, obviously, but my office, I work in Evansville. So after the new year, I'll be going back to work, which means I'll actually be at the office at 4:30. So I would say for now, let's stick with 4:30, and then maybe we can revisit it later as needed.
Okay, yeah, we're flexible. We'll work around what works for everybody. And should we meet again next week? Because we should be getting, I don't want us to meet every week. I don't think that's necessary, but maybe for this beginning, we should meet next week. Because I think, Jordan, are we getting comments coming in? Have you seen yet?
We're getting a lot of comments on Facebook. I would expect in the next 24 hours, the email addresses that are linked with public comments at davisky.org, that's where people should send comments to the committee, that you will have a number of comments in your inbox probably by this time tomorrow.
Okay.
And we'll go back a day or so, just the comments that have been received in the last 2 or 3 days here.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would think you'll have some initial, a good nice number, good wealth of initial comments to look at by next week or whenever your next meeting should occur.
I feel like we need to meet next week, and then we can kind of judge from there if we need to meet weekly or bi-weekly. I certainly think we'll need to meet more than monthly. But what day works best next week? Wesley, you said Wednesday was not so good. So what day works best?
It's all right. It's a fine day, but I like Tuesday or Thursday.
Okay.
But don't fit around me because I'm.
And Does
It doesn't
Thursday
matter
work?
to me. And I could meet earlier on any other day of the week except Wednesday.
okay. Kenny, would Thursday work for you?
Yes, I believe it will.
Tim?
Well, I'm sorry to be a wrench in the proceedings here, but Thursday is 2 of my children's birthday.
Oh, well,
and
that
we-
trumps
we have
everything.
Plans in the evening already, so Tuesday or Wednesday would work.
Okay. We could do Tuesday if that works for everybody. I'm looking at my calendar. I have one thing down on my calendar I have to do on Tuesday, but.
Tuesday's fine with me.
Okay, let's say Tuesday the 6th then at 4:30. Let's try that, and we can always juggle it around. We're in control on this. We can pretty well do what we want, frankly.
I'm sorry, I thought you said next week. Next week would be the 20.
Oh, I'm going too far, aren't I? Sorry about that.
The 6th is my birthday.
Yeah, today's the 23rd. Next week would be Tuesday the 29th. Looking too far
Okay,
ahead.
that works.
Yeah. Yeah, Tuesday the 29th. Yeah, I turned too many pages on my calendar here. So does anybody have any other observation, question, comment that you want to make while we're on this call?
I've got one little concern. Actually, it's a big concern. Within that meeting where the vote was taken for the removal of the statue, there was a comment by Al. I don't have the transcript of the meeting in front of me right now, but he did leave open the possibility of leaving the statue on the courthouse grounds. I'm sure it would be in a different effect, but I just wanted to clarify that point of whether this was absolute to be removed or not for the public to understand. But I believe if you look at his comments, he left an opening.
I've talked to him about that and he says no, but we'll have to get clarification. I'm looking at the resolution and it says we shall provide, Fiscal Court will remove the Confederate Memorial Monument from the courthouse lawn. Daviess County Fiscal Court will establish a committee, which is us. The committee can consult with other groups in the community before making their decision on where to locate it. The committee shall provide a recommended location in the Daviess County Fiscal Court to the Daviess County Court within 6 months, which from that time to now would be March the 3rd. So, but that is a question that we need to deal with. Do either of, let's see, I see George, you're still on here. George Watson?
Yes, I agree with Kenny. He did make a statement in our meeting, and it's in the minutes of the meeting, that y'all may decide to not move it or to leave it on. Maybe he said to leave it on the grounds, but in a different form. I don't know.
That is not my understanding, but you were at the meeting, so I will have to talk with the judge and the county attorney. My understanding when I have talked with him is, and I've asked him this specific question because somebody else, Kenny, said the same thing to me. My understanding is that y'all's vote was to move the statue and that our job was to decide where. Now, I've had a couple of comments on ideas of where to move it. I'm sure there are going to be a whole lot more. But as long as it is on the courthouse, and after I read what the DAR had said about it, the way I looked at the statue and the way that they apparently meant it to be were not the same. He is there at the ready to protect Owensboro. Now, in 1900, to protect Owensboro did not mean Tennesseans coming up over the border. It meant to protect from Black people. There were people still being lynched on the courthouse lawn at that time.
You know, Kenny, I'm glad you brought that up because you kind of refreshed my memory. It seemed like what you said, I read in the newspaper, but I've been questioning my mind through all this conversation because I thought, well, maybe I didn't read that right. But
I'll certainly get that taken care of before we meet again because we want to be sure on that.
Well, you know, and I think all options should be open, you know, which just.
Well, I think
there was something in today's paper also that, let me go get my paper and I'll read it. I'll be right back.
I read it, but I don't remember what it said. Kenny, what were you saying?
Well, I just feel like the public needs good clarification on the situation because, you know, that statement was made preceding the vote. And, you know, I felt like that statement did leave an open end. And I know the resolution states one thing, but I believe what Ms. Damron was referring to is it did say something about the monument being moved, but not necessarily moved off the courthouse grounds like the resolution states. But, you know, we need clarification and make sure that
they voted on the resolution unanimously.
Okay. Well, here's what's in the newspaper today. Fiscal Court voted unanimously on August 6th to establish a committee that would help provide options as to where to relocate the 120-year-old Confederate soldier statue if it were to be removed from the courthouse lawn at 3rd and Frederick Street.
Well, we will have to check with the judge to see if that's actually what they said or that's what the newspaper says. And that's a very important point. We will have to find that out.
Aloma, I have a question.
Yes.
And you may or may not know the answer. Maybe one of the commissioners do. But if we want information, who do we talk to? Like, for instance, if I wanted to see all of the documents that the county had relating to this monument, you know, statements it's made, ordinances, minutes, would that be something we as a committee would request directly from Claud, or
I think so. Although a lot of that material's in the Kentucky room, actually, copies in the Kentucky room. George?
Okay.
If it's information that we have at the courthouse or we've talked about at fiscal court, then Jordan would be the one to request from him, and then he'll find the proper, for example, if he needs minutes, we'll go to Jenny Warren. If we need historical data, maybe somebody will have to go down to the records
base,
room to
yeah,
get some
yeah.
information. So Jordan can, I would say your source would be Jordan.
Okay.
If it's at the library, then I don't know, you're on your own.
I know there's some records there. I also know there are records in the basement of the courthouse, or at least there used to be, because I've been through a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But David Smith might be able to help, but I think you're right. We need to go back to Jordan. You're our tech man. So what we need you to do, Jordan, is to talk with the judge and find out exactly what was said, what's in the minutes, and because we need a clarification on that. And we also need to know how, if we want to go through the records, as Tim asked, how we go about that, to whom we go.
Yeah, I can provide a copy of the meeting minutes immediately following to all of you immediately following this call.
Yeah.
But I will have a conversation with the judge and get further further guidance on that.
Okay. Yeah,
I think
that's something we need clarified.
Jordan, I think it would also be helpful, and hopefully you know where to find this information, but the other monuments and things that are on the courthouse grounds, it'd be interesting to see what types of documents there are on those, who owns them.
Well, they're owned by the county. And I believe you'll find that the statue is there was some questioning about that. The county has paid for its upkeep and for I don't know, quite a bit of restoration here a few years ago. And I believe, but we need to be absolutely sure. But my understanding is that they belong to the courthouse. When things like we just put up a monument to Louis Gasser Kirtley here a few weeks ago, and that was with the permission of the court. And my understanding is once it's on the courthouse lawn, it's theirs. The highway markers, the one we put up back during the bicentennial, and the statue, the piece of sculpture, those things belong to the county court now. Yeah. In fact, they can
see the documentation on that to the extent that it exists.
Yeah. And my understanding is that it does exist.
Great.
Okay. Good questions. You all are going to be a fun group to work with. Looking forward to it. Does anybody have anything else? We haven't been on all that long, but I think tonight it was just mainly kind of an introduction and getting sworn in, as it were, or whatever, having our charge from the judge and being aware of the open meeting laws. And you all got that information, so I'm assuming everybody has read it. If you haven't, do that. If you haven't made your alternate email, call Jordan and he will help you do that. And we will meet next Tuesday, the 29th at 4:30. That work for everybody? And I will, Jordan, either you'll send a reminder, I guess you'll send a reminder because we'll be on Zoom. Now, I know there has been some concern about Zoom. Do you all feel more comfortable after this? You've done really well.
A little bit.
Well, let's try it for a while longer. I know that you and Wesley had both said something about, I didn't really want to do this. I'm 77 and I'll be darned if I'm going to get the virus. I'm not going into places with people right now. I haven't been in any shop to do anything. Well, I had to take my car out to Don Moore, but I had my mask on and I took my chair out on the porch. Let's try it for Zoom for a while and see how that works. Maybe something wonderful will happen and we can all get back in person. And that would be more fun. Yes. For one thing, we could probably have snacks if we were in person. Well, I really appreciate all of you. And Jordan, I'm in your debt forever. You have really, really been a help. And I know you will continue to. Wesley, if you have any questions, any of you, I think probably you two guys are comfortable with Zoom, are you, or not? I know Tim is. And Ann's going to be. Ann's going to be.
Might have to do a storm novena for that.
Well, whatever works. Well, let's try again next week, and we'll be able to really get some serious discussion next week, because we'll have comments, we'll have some answers back to the question that Kenny has raised, and I think we're in good shape, folks. I think we'll do a good job.
Well, thank you for chairing this.
Well, thank you all for being on it. This is going to be fine. Jordan, you have anything to say?
Well, just to close, for those that have joined us in progress and are maybe just picking up the tail end of this meeting, if you want to get a comment to this committee, it's public comments at daviessky.org. Again, public comments at daviessky.org. And those comments will go directly to the committee for them to consider and review. So that is the avenue. I see a lot of comments that are on our Facebook page at the moment, and those also will be reviewed. But if you want to send an email directly to the members, would strongly encourage you to use the public comments at daviessky.org.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good evening. I'll talk to you all next week. You have a good birthday celebration with your kiddos, Tim. And we'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye-bye. See you later.
Okay.